friends, welcome to another episode of Business Masters, a series that we kicked off with Jay and Tata. Today's business master that I'm going to talk about is somebody that I admire a lot for the way he thinks, for the way he makes decisions, and that person is Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, who's also known as the Oracle of Omaha, is perhaps the world's best known investor and one of the founders of Berkshire Hathaway. When I came to know of Warren Buffett about a couple of decades ago, I was in awe of the kind of things he had done, because as a teenager, he understands the world of finance and he invests in what is called as a vending machine, which actually generates business and money for him. So Warren Buffett built Berkshire Hathaway, and why Warren Buffett is so revered as an investor and as a person who has created so much wealth is because over multiple decades, he has created a compounded annual return of 23+%. 23+% of compounded annual return is almost like turning 10 lakhs into 100 crores in just 25 years time. Now, how did Warren Buffett do it? There are a lot of books to learn about how Warren Buffett did it, but I'm going to share 5 key traits of Warren Buffett as a business master that we can emulate. One key trait is about investing in yourself. Warren Buffett talks about it all the time. He actually says, if the best thing that you can, if you have $100,000 today, will you invest it in yourself or will you invest it in someone else? He actually tells us that you have to invest it in yourself because the amount of return that you can generate is actually exponential. And he does that himself constantly. He has a fear of public speaking and he takes a Dale Carnegie How to Win Friends and Influence People course from Dale Carnegie himself. Because at that point in time, Dale Carnegie was alive, he was active, and this is way back in the mid 20th century. So he talks about how that immensely benefited him. The second trait is about thinking long term. And Warren Buffett actually shares an analogy saying, let's say you have a punch card. Essentially, a punch card is like a card with 10 or 15 holes on it. And every time you take an action or something happens, you punch a hole into the card, indicating that that count has happened. So if it has got 10 holes on it, and let's say you're using it to track how many days you exercised and you have punched 3 holes, that means you had 3 days of exercise. So Warren Buffett says we should look at decisions. While he mostly likens it to investment decisions, he talks about how to make life decisions, which is if you start thinking that you can only make finite number of decisions or finite number of bets, take finite number of big chances in your life, they're going to be only about 8 or 10. How would you go about making that decision? So the punch card analogy means that if I only have 10 or 15 decisions to make, how would I make that decision? So one example where we could apply that is in how we think about our career choices or the fields of study or how to take advantage of new big opportunities. Because every opportunity or every decision that you make means you have lesser number of decisions you can make. So therefore, think carefully and think very, very long term about how this is going to fit. The third trait that we can learn from Warren Buffett is about thinking really, really deeply. Warren Buffett talks about how he acquires knowledge. While most people actually read investment advice and whole host of books that is written by others, Warren Buffett actually does 2 things. One is he meets people, and the second thing, which is actually the thing that he does the most, is reading annual reports of companies. Annual reports of companies is full of direct information from the company itself. And what Warren Buffett then does is he juxtaposes that with happenings in the world and comes to a careful understanding of what is actually going on. There is an investment that Warren Buffett made in a company called Nebraska Furniture Mart, which was run by one single lady. If my memory serves me right, she is a Jewish lady who has this innate ability to identify furniture for very, very low prices and good furniture and selling them with a little bit of markup. And today, Nebraska Furniture Mart is a very successful company. Warren Buffett, because of his ability to think deeply, understands how that business is likely to scale, how that works against the American psyche, and how that's going to continue to make money. And he also understands this lady, that he gets her to sign a non-compete agreement for 5 years because she's so good, and that at the age of 80 or 90. Most people don't have 70 or 80 of years of life, but this lady is so fiercely driven that she comes penniless to America. So he thinks deeply about various subjects. The next thing is to have clarity of thought about what you are capable of and what you're not capable of. In the late 80s, there is a crisis with a broking firm called Salomon Smith and Barney, which at one point in time was owned by Citibank. It goes into a huge crisis, and Warren Buffett is actually called in to rescue that because of the amount of ethical issues that were surrounding it, and because Warren Buffett is seen as a paragon of virtue. And he chooses a person to run the company, and when that person asks him, what should I do next and who are the next set of people that I have to pay, Warren Buffett immediately replies to him saying, if I have to tell you that, then I think I have made the wrong choice. You should be making those decisions yourself. No wonder he has a group of businesses where he doesn't interfere or run any of them. So he has total clarity about what he's capable of and what he's not capable of. And the last trait, he has many traits, but the last trait that we understand from him is to observe the world very, very deeply, especially the world of business and the world of finance, and learn from it. There is a famous quote that Warren Buffett, there are several famous quotes, but one of my favorites is, our holding period for any stock is forever. What essentially means is, let's say you invest 100 rupees or $100 into a stock, and if you made the right choice, did the research, understood that it is quality management, it's a quality business, now the only reason you're actually going to disturb the compounding power of that stock or that investment is because you're not understanding how wealth is actually created in the world. Let's say you invested 100 rupees, it generated 20% return. So now you receive 20 rupees or $20 on that stock if you invested $100. Now, if you cash that $20, you're going to pay taxes on it. Now, the other thing that's going to happen is that $20 again doesn't go back into the business. There is a lot of such wisdom that Warren Buffett is actually famous for. So invest in yourself, think long term, think deep, have total clarity of thinking, understand yourself, and know what you are able to do and what you are not able to do. And lastly, observe deeply from the world and learn. So these are some traits of this business master. Go apply them and succeed in the world of business and in the world of investing. Happy reading. Click on the bell icon and hit subscribe to get the latest episodes.